Hey everybody, Bandicoot Commando here, and welcome back to Marvel Rivals. Last time, let's see. I read Spider-Man's lore story, new one, Message Received, where basically Peter was sending text messages to MJ, and more or less he was explaining to MJ like how everything that's been happening recently, with him having to, getting all tangled up with the heroes and with having to stop Doom and everything. But more importantly, Peter brings up how he had come up with a plan to break Captain America out of the raft, or out of the vault, not the raft, and where basically, even though in spite of Fisk with his ban on superheroes and vigilantes, MJ can only just warn Peter to stay safe and to come back alive. And we know that's going to happen because, hey, he's got Felicia to help him. So anyway, today we are going to read the lore. Yeah, here it is. I just got all the pages here for season 7. So, let's begin. The hunt is on. The worst of times. Citizens of New York have suffered through their fair share of turmoil of late, thanks in a large part of the city's recent hostile takeover by a legion of bloodthirsty vampires. Just when it seemed like the veil of eternal darkness that had fallen over Manhattan was finally about to lift, another crisis unexpectedly began to unfold. This one perhaps even more bizarre than the last. The Daily Bugle's own Ben Urich hit the streets to gather eyewitness reports from local residents regarding the strange events occurring in Lower Manhattan. I was just out for an evening stroll when it happened, recalled Stanley Lieber. A blazing red light suddenly washed over the city skyline. I thought we were under attack by aliens again. But then I got a better look where the light was coming from. It was that swanky skyscraper. The swanky skyscraper Lieber was referring to was the international headquarters of the megacorporation Alchemex. However, according to another witness, the building may have not been the source of disruption itself, but rather the target of something more sinister. Yeah, I saw the red glow coming from that tower, claimed Jacob Kurtzberg. I figured those Alchemex bums were up to no good. But then, all of a sudden, these, I don't know what to call them, space wrinkles, I guess, appeared in the sky around the building. Before you knew it, the whole place crumpled into a ball like a piece of scrap paper. And then it just vanished. But another bystander confirmed that the site didn't remain empty for long. I know this sounds crazy, but before I could even blink, there was a new building right there in its place, said Florence Steinberg. It looked all strange and futuristic. Not the prettiest thing I've ever seen, that's for sure. But then again, I think most of the towers they're putting up these days are eyesores. I prefer something a bit more classic, something with style. Unfortunately for Miss Steinberg, the Alchemex Tower wasn't the only building to undergo a drastic renovation. The entire neighborhood surrounding it has also started to change dramatically, with the city's historical architecture being randomly replaced by unusual structures that seem straight out of a science fiction film. The Daily Bugle reached out to the Mayor Wilson Fisk's office for more information about the mysterious events, but no official comment has been offered yet. Despite the mayor's silence on the matter, his actions speak volumes. As of yesterday, Fisk has put Lower Manhattan on lockdown and has begun to evacuate the affected areas. Rumor has it that Fisk has also used the situation to put his long-desired hero ban into effect, criminalizing any unsanctioned activity by superpowered individuals. Inside sources have hinted that major arrests have already been made, and that some legendary champions of justice are currently being held at a secret prison known as the Vault. Keep checking the Daily Bugle for more on the situation as it develops. So, we got our exposition here. I want to point out how this one, Stanley Lieber, that is meant to be Stan Lee himself. To those who do not know, Stan Lee's real full name was Stanley Lieber. He eventually then came up with the name Stan and then Lee. So, a very nice way to reference him in that way. I believe Jacob Kurtzberg and Florence Steinberg, I believe, are also references to other Marvel writers. At least I'm going to assume. I feel like Jacob Kurtzberg is meant to be a weird reference to Jeffrey Katzenberg, which I highly doubt, since he has nothing to do with Marvel whatsoever. Alright, next up. Catch me if they can. You heard me, Mr. Wesley. Wilson Fisk demanded into his phone as he lumbered down a corridor within the vault. Bury the explosives in the affected area as a contingency plan. Order must be restored to my city one way or another. Yes, of course, I hope my other option pays off instead, but for it to do so, I must find someone capable of executing an impossible mission. Consider the cat, a voice said from the shadows. Wilson Fisk turned and saw Felicia Hardy, the criminal known as the Black Cat, sauntering out of the darkness with a playful grin on her face. Ah, Ms. Hardy, Fisk said. You got my invitation. I did, Cat responded. And when the mayor of New York City calls, I'd be a fool not to answer. I would have been here sooner, but I got distracted. Thought I saw some sort of nine-tailed fox following me. But then it disappeared into... Shall we get down to business? Fisk interrupted. Sure, Cat said, though I would have preferred meeting at City Hall instead of a prison. This place triggers a lot of bad memories. I assure you, my dear, Fisk said, my intent is to keep you on this side of the bars. In fact, if you are able to finish this one small job for me, I will grant you full immunity, as well as a district of this city to control, as you see fit. That's quite the reward, Cat said. Almost too good to be true. Which means there's got to be a catch. The object I desire is currently being held in a place beyond my jurisdiction as mayor, Fisk said. Where? Cat asked, her curiosity piqued. New Jersey? Worse, Fisk replied. The extra-dimensional depths of Dr. Strange's Sanctum Sanctorum. Ah, Cat said. That makes more sense. I was wondering why the former kingpin of crime himself needed to call in an outside contractor. So which of the Doc's occult oddities are you trying to get those big meaty hands on? The Eye of Agamotto? The Wand of Watum? The Tablet of Life and Time, Fisk responded. Ooh, I remember that one, Cat exclaimed. It can give its owner some sort of ultimate power, right? That does sound like your kind of thing. I assure you, Fisk snapped. I seek the tablet for the good of this city, not for my own personal gain. Okay, okay, Kat said. I'll get it for you. But breaking into Strange's house won't be easy. Trust me, I've tried. I'll need something from your private collection to help me get past the front door. Of course, Fisk said, opening his giant fist to reveal an intricately crafted bronze ring. The Ring of Zona. I've tried to use it to open portals myself, but to no avail. Perhaps you will fare better. I'm sure I will, Kat said. Luck tends to be on my side. I should hope so, Fisk responded. I have a feeling you will need it. Alright, so now we got more of the setup on Fisk hiring Felicia to steal the Tablet of Life and Time. I should point out, even though I have heard Kingpin's voice in this game from the lower Manhattan map, I'm actually trying to make him sound like from the Spider-Man animated series from the 90s, trying to channel Roscoe Lee Brown because his performance as Kingpin was excellent. Here we are. Homecoming! Hold on, before I read it, let me... I'll check that later. Alright. Tiger Division, Director's Log, Entry 2603-S7, Recording. Director Amy Hahn, alias White Fox. Things are spiraling out of control in New York City far faster I could have predicted. When international intelligence networks first alerted Tiger Division that frequent cross-timeline travel were starting to break down the barriers between dimensions, I considered deploying a team of agents from Korea to New York to assist in mitigating the damage. I had previously established a relationship with Mayor Wilson Fisk during a series of operations designed to restrict interdimensional hero activities across the Pacific region, so I assumed that Tiger Division would be welcomed to help stabilize the recent chronal disturbances in lower Manhattan. I was wrong. Fisk insisted that the matter was beyond Tiger Division's authority, and that he had everything under control. So I watched and waited while Fisk declared martial law and started arresting any superpowered individuals that stepped into the city's evacuation zones. When he imprisoned my fellow Korean national, Sol Hee, who is not only a Tiger Division special operative known as Luna Snow, but also a K-pop star beloved by millions, the mayor of New York recklessly evaluated a local crisis into an international incident. That's when I was forced to take action. In order to protect other heroes from being unjustly incarcerated by Fisk's regime, Tiger Division has now established a temporary secret base on the campus of Empire State University. I have personally provided a number of heroes with alternate identities so that they can continue to operate freely without fear of Fisk's retribution. Their dual identities are only known to Tiger Division agents with Kumio level clearance. Dr. Stephen Strange is currently volunteering at the ESU Health Clinic as a campus medic under the alias Steven Sanders. Rather than saving lives with sorcery, he's relying on his unrivaled skills as a surgeon once again. Peter Parker has returned to his alma mater as a graduate student, where he is leading the photography club and documenting daily campus life. Due to his well-guarded secret identity as Spider-Man, no false identity was required. Reed Richards, Mr. Fantastic, has joined the Empire State University faculty under the guise of Dr. Danyum Git, a guest lecturer from Vania University specializing in astrophysics. Meanwhile, Susan Storm, the Invisible Woman, has done anything but fade from sight. positioning herself as the rising star of ESU's debate team, Rianne Landu. I will be making frequent undercover trips to campus to gather intel and to help coordinate these heroes as we plan a counter-strike against Fisk. The sooner we can release the captive heroes and take back control of the city, the better. Because if the readings my science team have provided me are correct, we need to be focusing less on the corrupt regime running New York and more on the time warping effects spreading across the island's southern end. The fate of this city, and perhaps multiple timelines, could very well depend on it. End recording. Alright, so now we know how some of the heroes were given identities at ESU. So that's why when I saw Steven Sanders' skin, I was like, is that meant to be like some kind of alias he took up? And I was technically half right. I just didn't know it was an alias for the game here and not from the comics. Ah, this one. Fallen Saint. As soon as I got this image and I saw this, I was wondering, who is this guy? I wanted to know so badly until I accidentally learned about him. So now I know he is the Gilded Saint. The Gilded Saint speaks, and if you are wise, you will listen. My ultimate prize, the Tablet of Life and Time, has eluded me once again. As the patron saint of the Fabled Thieves Guild, I have dispatched my most devoted acolytes to retrieve this ancient Talaconian artifact from me countless times. Somehow, no matter how skilled they were in the ways of thievery and deception, they always found a way to fail me. I found a new hope when the self-proclaimed kingpin of crime, Wilson Fisk, was anointed the mayor of New York City. I knew he would do anything to be worshipped by the masses. So when the timeline began to fracture and New York's safety became imperiled, I seized the opportunity to help Fisk become the city's savior for a small price. All Fisk had to do was retrieve the Tablet of Life and Time and deliver it safely to me. If he did, I vowed to him that I would use my magic to undo the damage caused by the Chronal Plague sweeping across the city. Fisk would get all of the credit, and I would get what I had coveted for so long. At first, Fisk balked at the idea of anyone having leverage over him, making him reluctant to accept the deal. But when I informed him that the other option was that I would simply claim his beloved city for myself, he quickly reconsidered. Despite his criminal past, Wilson Fisk was never a true thief. He was fully aware that he lacked the skills required to breach the Sanctum Sanctorum, where the tablet was being held. In order to pull off such an elaborate heist, he brought in an expert of his own, a former member of my guild who called herself the Black Cat. When the cat eventually returned with the Tablet of Life and Time, it seemed that Fisk had lived up to his end of the bargain. I cast an incantation to cleanse the city of its chronal curse, expecting instant results. However, for some unknown reason, my magic had no effect on the strange structure at the epicenter of the incursion. It was as if the building had been shielded by a powerful extra-dimensional force beyond even my grasp. But it mattered not. Perhaps one building remained in its time-altered state. But I had quelled the spread of the disruption, as promised. I took my prize and left, leaving Fisk to handle the aftermath on his own. When I returned to my domain, I locked the Tablet of Life and Time away in my vault. But when the time came for me to finally put it to use, I was shocked to discover that the artifact in my possession was nothing more than a forgery. I had traded my services for a useless hunk of stone. The mortals played me for a fool. They will pay the price for their transgression. Every last one of them. So there we go. The consequences of when you try to pull a fast one over an extra dimensional entity of some kind. That said, though, the fact that he could not undo the Alchemex headquarters, it can mean a lot of things. By default, it just simply means the time stream entanglement is just that strong that even high power dimensional beings like him cannot fully reverse the damages. But it could mean something else. Better the devil, you know? So I might have done something naughty, but to be fair, that's perfectly on brand for the Black Cat. When the Kingpin hired me to steal the Tablet of Life and Time from Doctor Strange's house, I knew his plan would ultimately benefit him more than it benefited New York. Still, I accepted the gig because Fisk offered me an epic payoff. My own district of the city to lord over with total immunity. That's everything a girl like me could want. Well, almost. During the heist, I crossed paths with a super spy called White Fox. We tussled at first, but then Fox passed me inside info that Fisk had made a deal with the Gilded Saint, the supernatural creep worshipped by my old pals in the Thieves Guild. Fox asked me to hand the tablet over to Tiger Division for safekeeping. But I decided to trust my instincts and do what I thought was right instead. Once the deed was done, I headed back to my penthouse, only to find an unexpected visitor waiting for me on the rooftop. Dr. Doom had come with an offer he thought I couldn't refuse. If I gave him the tablet, he would grant me immortality. 9 lives are more than enough for me, so I made Doom a counteroffer. I asked him to sever the centuries-old pact between the Thieves Guild and the Gilded Saint, releasing the guild members from their eternal servitude. Doom seemed impressed by my boldness and agreed, but then I mentioned one small but important detail. I had already delivered the tablet to the Kingpin. Furious that I led him on, Doom ranted in the third person and conjured some dark magic that made my hair stand on end. Before he could attack, I pulled a surprise out of my satchel, the Tablet of Life and Time. It was hard to tell through his metal mask, but I think Doom was actually caught off guard. Doom demanded to know what was going on, so I spilled my secret. Once I found out that Kingpin had aligned himself with the Gilded Saint, I realized I was on the wrong side of this battle. I couldn't go through with the deal as planned, but I also knew that Fisk would have his goons hunt me down if I backed out. So after I made my discovery, I procured a finely crafted replica from a forger who owed me a favor. Then I used one of Rocket's high-tech gadgets to swap the tablet in the Gilded Saint's vault with the fake. I'll be honest, I have no idea how it worked, but it did. What can I say? I'm lucky. After verifying the artifact's authenticity, Doom signed off on my new terms and vanished into the night. And while I'm not sure if the city is any safer with the tablet in his hands instead of theirs, I know for a fact that I feel a whole lot safer now that it's not in mine. So yes, we learned about this in her lore story. Now we got this one. Devil's Reign! This looks interesting. This looks like New York at night, or it might be Oh no, it's meant to be Alchemax. It's meant to be, yeah, the future and such. Wilson Fisk stared out of the window at the futuristic tower where Alchemex's international headquarters once stood. Gilded Saint failed to remove this stain upon my city, Fisk snarled. So I must take matters into my own hands. Fisk walked to his desk and reached toward a large red button. You sure you want to do that, Mr. Mayor? A voice said from a shadowy corner of Fisk's office. Fisk recognized the voice immediately. It belonged to Daredevil, a foe Fisk thought was missing and gone. But the strange building outside was proof that reality isn't always what it seems. The devil of Hell's Kitchen returns, Fisk said. To what do I owe this pleasure? I came to stop you from making a terrible mistake, Daredevil said. You tried that before, Fisk said. It didn't end well for you. That was a different devil, Daredevil replied. In my timeline, there was nothing I could do to prevent New York City's destruction. But here, I still have a chance, if you're willing to listen. Go on then, Fisk said, with a raised eyebrow. Plead your case. I know the time rift around the Alchemax building is a threat to the city, Daredevil said. Realities are becoming unstable and collapsing into each other. I've experienced the results firsthand. Then you understand why I must eliminate the problem at its source, Fisk responded confidently. I understand that you're trying to protect your people, Daredevil said. It's why you put the city under lockdown, why you made a deal with a demon. I've done worse to ensure the safety of those who chose me to lead them. After all this time, Fisk said with a grin, you have finally become a guardian willing to accept the necessary evil. You press that button, Daredevil replied. Explosives will sink the entire southern tip of Manhattan. You might destroy Alchemax, but you'll destroy thousands of lives along with it. That's not necessary. It's just evil. It's the only option left, Fisk said. The situation has spiraled out of his control. Your fellow vigilantes have defied my orders, breaking out of the vault and taking my most prized possessions, a cursed cloak, a starlit mask, and an enchanted stone with them. Cursed cloak, that's Parker's cloak. That's the hood. A starlit mask and an enchanted stone. I'm not sure what those can relate to. Oh, the stone might refer... Oh, I think I know what the stone is. I'm not going to spoil that, though. But then that leaves the mask, and I am not sure what that starlit mask is meant to be a reference to. Might have to look into it later. I'm sure those items are safer in their hands than yours, Daredevil said. My hands have guided this city towards peace and prosperity, Fisk snapped back. And my hands will preserve them at any cost. Fisk reached out and pressed the red button before Daredevil could stop him. He turned to face the window, ready to watch the destruction unfold. But nothing happened. About those explosives, Daredevil said. I defused them before I got here. Probably should have led with that part. Get out! Fisk yelled, his large hands balling up into a tight fist. Daredevil walked toward the door of Fisk's office, but paused a moment before he departed to offer one last warning. It wasn't only heroes who escaped from the vault, Daredevil revealed. Dracula broke free as well. If you really do care about this city as much as you claim, Wilson, it's time to start cleaning up the mess you've made. So, I'm not going to go into detail because I'm going to have to save it for a later video, but There was a certain treasure that has been more or less that was added into when the second half of season 7 started, and it relates to Dracula. Now, the fact that Dracula is revealed to be alive is the big revelation. We all assumed that after the events of season 1, Dracula died, or I mean, they kept it ambiguous on whether he actually died or fled. They only used the words that Dracula was beaten or defeated. But here we learned that he was captured and imprisoned. Fisk, no likely, was going to somehow find a way to use him. But now that he escaped, well, it brings up a lot of questions. But I think I know where we're going to get some of those answers from. Speaking of questions and answers, the final page here. Loose ends. Seems like forever since you and me hit the big city together, Jeannie, Rogue said after taking a long sip of her coffee. After the recent turmoil in Lower Manhattan, Rogue and Jean Grey found themselves in desperate need of some self-care. They decided to spend an afternoon together at a cafe they used to frequent back in their days at the Xavier School. It wasn't just their past that the two mutants would be revisiting. It was their present, and possibly their future. Funny how something can feel like an eternity and a split second at the same time, Jean said. Time has a strange way of playing tricks on us. Speaking of which, Rogue said, at least that nasty time rift ain't spreading across the island anymore, right? The threat may have subsided for now, Jean replied, as she eyed the Reality Warp Alchemax building rising high above the New York skyline. But the fact that there are still any artifacts left from another timeline tells me that our battle isn't over yet. Sure about that, Sugar? Rogue asked. Last I checked, Fisk got booted out of office. His laws banning heroes got repealed, and Dracula and his vamps got their patsy butts handed to them. Again. I'd say those are some big wins. Sure, Jean agreed, but the Tablet of Life and Time is still missing, and you've been out saving the cosmos for too long, girl, Rogue said. Did you forget how to enjoy a day off? That's the thing, Jean responded. When you're the host of the Phoenix Force, there's no such thing as a day off. You're always on full alert, waiting for the next cosmic level threat. That sounds exhausting, Rogue said. Don't know how you keep going. I don't really have a choice, Jean replied. But at least I'm not fighting alone now. Darn right, Rogue said. We X-Men are starting to find our way back together. Slowly, but surely. Most of us, Jean said, sadness washing over her face. I miss Scott too, darling, Rogue said, placing her gloved hand on Jean's shoulder. But he's gotta be out there somewhere. I know, Jean replied. Even though my psychic bond with him may have been cut off, I could still feel him. And I get the sense he's closer than we think. It's just a familiar feeling I have inside. Something warm and comforting. As Jean spoke, she stared down into her coffee cup, subconsciously using her telekinetic powers to trace the shape of the phoenix into the foam atop her latte. Had she been looking up, she might have noticed the faint pulse of red energy emanating from the top of the Alchemax HQ. And if the cafe hadn't been on a busy Manhattan street, perhaps Jean would have been able to read the mind of the mysterious figure watching them from across the street. A mind that somehow had the exact same thought patterns as the X-woman sitting across the table. And there we have it, people. So, Scott has been mentioned. Scott is coming. Why? because there's his glasses right there. Then, over here, we have this mysterious figure watching over. We don't know who this figure is. We believe that this figure can be a number of different characters. Ever since this page was first revealed when Season 7 dropped, they've been saying anything that this is meant to be Captain Marvel, which I kind of doubt. Mystique, which maybe, I don't know. But the more likely one that most people are saying... oh shoot. I actually don't remember the name, but she's basically a clone of Jean Grey. Maybe I can look her up real quick. Jean Grey. Yes. Madeline Pryor. Some people are saying that this is meant to be Madeline, but I honestly don't know for sure. There's really nothing saying that this is meant to be Madeline, also known as the Goblin Queen. But given that the last thing said, oh, I didn't mean to do that. Given that it said a mind that's somehow the exact same thought patterns as the X-Woman sitting across the table, that points to either Captain Marvel or Mystique. As another detail, we have this plush of Devil Dinosaur sitting on the shelf here. So, this leads to a factor of, we got Scott. The other rumored character we're getting for Season 8 would be Devil Dinosaur. And, for further proof, there is data for him in the heroes list. But, my question is, if that really is the case, how would he even work or play? Because I find it hard, the idea of playing a Tyrannosaurus Rex creature in a game like this. But, that said, if they were able to find a way to make Deadpool into a multi-role character, or the fact that they were able to, like, who else can I use an example? That they were able to stay true to Daredevil by changing the way that the screen looks in order to give that sense that he's blind, but still give off pulses to see the opponents. Or the fact that they were able to... like, I really shouldn't doubt them. If Devil Dinosaur really is the next hero, alongside Scott, well... I'd be damned. But alright, that will do it for this episode of Marvel Rivals. So join me next time. So here's the thing, there are only a few things left to do for the remainder of Season 7 here. Pull up the roadmap, yep. So, in a few days, there will be a new PvE mode called Blood Hunt. When I was reading that, it played up with the fact that since Dracula escaped, this means that this Blood Hunt will relate to it. And because Rogue said how we took care of Dracula and his bloodsuckers, that means that this Blood Hunt mode will relate to this, on how Dracula escaped and is trying to rebuild his empire of the night, and it's up to, I'm going to assume, Blade and a couple of other heroes stopping him and putting him down for good. There's also a new event, the Hellfire Gala 2026. And I can't wait to see what we got there, given how it's been mentioned that because Emma had won the Hellfire Gala of last year, she will have a skin to reflect on it. So yeah, we will do this next PvE mode, Blood Hunt, and there's a new one, another new one coming out as well, but I'll save that once we get done with Blood Hunt. So, that is it, and I will see you guys next time.